Hello and welcome to the 21-day Millionaire Mindset Challenge. Todd Hutchison here, the Global Chairman and CEO of People Rich and featured in the Millionaire Mentors and the Millionaire Motivators books. Today I'm going to share with you a question I often get. How do you find more time in the day? How do you get more things done? How do you master that thing we call time management? Well, I'm going to share with you something that I found studying and working with some of the best people in the world. Having a world championship and all those kind of things myself and being running businesses since the age of 17, I found that the people that I was modelling, the people that were my mentors, seemed to get more done in the day than anyone else. I chose then to study them, and I'm going to share with you some of the great insights I found. Because there's a lot of great masters out there that say, wake up an hour early, get on with it. And when you look at it, that's perfect advice, because when you look at having an extra hour in the day, that gives you far more hours in the week, 7 hours in the week, and then so many hours in the month, so many hours in a year. But that doesn't actually work for everyone. In fact, if you're really wanting to know what's your minimum hour of sleep, I'm going to give you the answers in today's session. Now, the intent is to explain to you that you have a natural energy cycle. And in fact, when you look at your energy cycle, there's a point where you're sleeping to when you've got low energy, medium energy and high energy. Now in this particular case, you'll get a piece of paper and you'll record your energies levels, typically over a week or 2 weeks, and you'll be looking at when you wake up in the morning from 1 a.m. up to midnight, and you'll record where you actually stand, because some of you will be what's known as a morning person, some of you will be known as an afternoon or a night person, which means that at that point in time you have far more energy than any other time. It's your natural neuroscience based, when you look at the neurochemical response, it's your natural style of operation. And you will be either morning, afternoon or night. But I did find something very fascinating when I studied the top performers, and including myself when I was looking at my own life. I seemed to wake up, turn on and stay on all the way through the day. I didn't seem to find out whether I was a morning, afternoon or night person. I've since learned that I am a morning person, but only when I started studying the great masters that were around me to see what they were doing. Now, if you are a morning person, typically this is the type of map we would see. In fact, you're sleeping, when you wake up, you tend to go into high energy as soon as possible. In the afternoon, that energy starts coming down, you start having a lower peak, you might have a little tip, and then you go back and go to sleep. So this would be the morning person profile. Now the most interesting thing is most people tend to do the fun stuff when they're feeling good. Because by the way, this is your natural style where your brain's activity is at its highest peak. Which means that if I did work in there, I could actually get a lot more done than if I tried that same work in my lower energy cycles, which makes total sense, of course. But here's the thing, if it took an hour in here, it might take an hour and a half or more over here. And this is where you've got to go back and say, where am I? Because that is the point that you shouldn't be doing the fun stuff. No, no, no. You should be doing the important and hard stuff. Now, one of my colleagues recently, when I taught them this process, they were putting in applications for jobs. They had just come back from travelling overseas and they were looking for jobs. And they'd done this training course, and we're talking about this performance cycle, your natural performance cycle. And when they were going home, they realised that they were taking about 2 hours to do a job application. But they remembered that day that I said, really, once they realised they were a morning person and they knew they were a morning person, she thought, well, instead of trying to do it tonight, what I might do is I'll wake up earlier in the morning and I'll hit it in the morning, because if Todd's right, I should be doing it at least time. But because she didn't want to miss the next day's training, she got up very early because she knew it was going to be taking about 2 or 3 hours normally. Well, she was amazed that she got through it in 45 minutes. But I'm not amazed, because that's just how your brain works. If you do the hard and important stuff here, you'll actually find you're procrastinating less, because procrastination is actually still a natural state. But you imagine if I'm doing all the fun stuff here and then I come over in the afternoon when I'm low on energy, that's when I'm then going to say, oh, that report, I will do it tomorrow. And the problem is this, tomorrow never comes, because if I'm living life like that, I'm going home absolutely exhausted with far less done, and then I'm going to start feeling more stressed because I'm falling behind in work. Whereas in reality, if I swung that around, because you would also have heard terms like if you want something done, give it to a busy person. What busy people have found, they still procrastinate, but they procrastinate far less, because here's how they operate. They come into the high peak cycle and they do the important and the hard stuff then. Now remember, that's when your brain naturally has an activity rate that allows it to perform at its absolute best. So you're going to get far more done if you move the fun stuff out of there and put the important and hard stuff in that gap. But the next thing we realised is once you were doing that and you came to the afternoon side, this actually picked up, because if you came and did the fun stuff when you're lower in energy, it's like when you're going home and someone rings up and says, do you want to come and do that? And it's your favourite thing. You go, absolutely, I'm off. And you have created that. That is actually a neurochemical response that you trigger. So you imagine, instead of in the afternoon, instead of going down to that low, you have upped the ante and your energy has come higher. Now, by the way, this is why the top performers didn't understand if they were night, morning or afternoon person, because the difference in the states was far less observable, because their energy was higher. It never goes up to the same peak, but it certainly increases. So in this case, you've got more productivity here, but you've now got more energy to be more productive over here. And here's what I didn't realise until we analysed it, is when you do this cycle and you go to sleep. Now, if you've done it right, you might notice in the past that sometimes you go to sleep and your body's alive, but your brain is dead and it wants to sleep, but the body needs exercise. Or in the other case, where your body's dead, but the brain's ticking over. That means you haven't exercised the brain and body together. In fact, I remember one day flying into a place that I was speaking at, and I was totally revved up. My body was just wanting to do exercise, but my mind was getting very tired. And I'm laying in bed, and I was supposed to be speaking at like 8 in the morning, and it was about 3 a.m, and I couldn't sleep. So I decided, well, the only thing I'm going to do to try and exercise, I'm going to have to get up and go for a run. Anyway, the funny story was, I went for that run and I got outside and I ran like Superman, like I'd never run before. In fact, I was on so much energy that I ran and I felt like I was almost flying. Only to then, when I turned around to come back to the hotel, did I realise I had a backwind. And it wasn't my great energy feeling, it was the fact that this wind was pushing me along. So as I turned around, it took an extra 45 minutes to run against this wind, and I felt the absolute idiot. But here's the thing, if you're living life like this, you're exercising both the mind and body. Now when you exercise both the mind and body, that means when you go to sleep, you're going to sleep far more effectively than anyone else. In fact, if you look at athletes that are exercising the brain and body, they are dropping straight into sleep and getting the minimum hours of sleep. Because if you're living life like this, let me point something out to you. When you're doing that, your mind and body is being exercised, so therefore your brain goes straight into the sleep cycle. That's the minimum that you require. And if you want to find out what's the minimum hours you sleep, because on average it's 7.5, but they have found that people are sleeping more than, I think it's 9.42 minutes, there's no extra health benefit. And some people can sleep down to 4 hours. And really what the difference is instead of going down the brain frequencies to the deep level of sleep, they tend to go down faster. So everyone is different, and you can't try and deprive yourself of sleep if that's not what you're capable of doing. Live like this, you'll find your easiest way of actually sleeping. Now, to go over those 3 points again. Firstly, you do the important and hard stuff at your highest energy level. The second thing what we want you to do is move the fun activities, the things that you enjoy to do, the things that you're passionate about, more in those areas where you have a natural decline in your energy level. In that case, you'll find your energy will naturally come up, but that's again triggered by your own state. And thirdly, you'll find that you'll be able to sleep more effectively, and you will find that there's a shorter amount of sleep that may be able to be sustainable for you. Thank you very much. I hope you're really enjoying these sessions. This is featured in the Millionaire Motivators book if you wanted more information on that. But please keep in contact with us, because we're here also to serve and working together and supporting you and our cumulative abundance in helping communities and the world be a better place. Thank you very much.